Hello everybody and welcome. In this video we'll be playing in the Switcheroo seasonal event. And in this mode, after 2 turns both players switch hands. So that means we'll be playing one card from our hand, then one from our opponent's, then one from ours again, and so on. And this means you must be careful what cards you keep in your hand, as they can be used against you. And note that as you do at least get to play one card from your original hand, players do tend to keep one particularly powerful card for that purpose, and several weaker cards that they don't mind the opponent using. But in general you should always try to remember what else is in your hand that could be used against you in the later turns. And in general this mode is all about trying to set up some form of asymmetry in your deck, so there is more value when you play cards than your opponent. And there are several ways in which this can be achieved, whether from the devotion effect, not having duplicates in deck, thinning cards which your opponent cannot trigger, or tutor cards which simply will have no value to your opponent, to mention a few. Your chosen leader ability is also often going to be the most unique aspect of your deck. Even within factions, it can set you apart, and asymmetry can also come from that, as it could trigger cards that your opponent cannot. Also, you should note that there is no point passing in this mode, because cards will continue to exchange hands even after one player has passed, so do not expect to be able to pass early and retain a card advantage going into subsequent rounds. And because of this, the first round will be 10 cards long, and each subsequent round will be 3 cards long, and it will depend a lot on how you top deck. And that being the case, another possible strategy for this mode is by having 3 win conditions in your deck. Some card which has good value in a long round for round 1, and point slam cards which play well in a 3 card round. Anyway, let's see the deck we'll be using in this video. So here's the deck we'll be using. In the Switcheroo event, players will repeatedly switch hands with one another, so we want to make it so our cards are of little value to our opponent. And in this Northern Realms deck, we have quite a few very powerful point slam cards, which we will use to win in the short rounds, and the most powerful engine currently in the game to win round 1. So we'll start with our first round win condition, King Foltest. And he's just a very powerful engine in standard ladder, but here he's even more difficult to deal with. And he'll boost the unit to his right by 1 at the end of every turn. And the first time bronze unit is boosted on your side of the field, he'll spawn a base copy of it at the bottom of our deck. And so we combine Foltest with a thinning card, and the pair will function like an engine. And as there's not a great deal of control in this mode, as players will fear it being used against them, and due to the fact we can actually look at our opponent's hand and remove any control options that they have, Foltest can quite happily sit on our board and add 8 or 9 copies of a card to our deck over a 10 card round. And we are running a devotion deck here, so the spawned copy will also be boosted. And the cards we will copy are either the Blue Stripes Commando, and he can use his order ability to summon all copies, or the Dun Banner, which whenever it receives a boost, it will summon all copies from its deck. And as Foltest will be boosting this will mean that they will automatically be summoned from the deck. And whenever we have a choice between the two, I would say the Commandos are preferable, as their ability is an order ability, and so we can choose whether or not to summon more if we already have a healthy lead, and we might be able to use them in a later round as well. And whilst we can potentially keep our Commandos in deck for a later round, we can also use Princess Pavetta to shuffle those bronze units and all copies from our graveyard back into our deck, and this will either be the copied Commandos or the copied Dun Banner. And because the later rounds are only 3 cards long, dropping 27 or 36 points in one turn is exceedingly powerful in this mode, and is will be very difficult for our opponent to answer. And for this deck we use the leader ability Pincer Maneuver, and this will let us pick any card in our deck and add it to our hand, then return 1 card to our deck before spawning a 2 power soldier token. And preferably we want to do this when we have our opponent's hand, as a way to hide any good cards in their hand, or simply as a way to play cards that aren't in our starting deck. And the significant advantage of this means that we can use his ability to take the win conditions from our deck without our opponent being able to play them. And also note the soldier token is spawned in the melee row, which will synergize with another one of our point slam options. And we also have Amphibious Assault for shooting any of our weaker provision units. And if our opponent is not running Northern Realms, this card will be useless to them, so they will simply be discarding it. But we can use this to shoot a Pavetta or our thinning cards. Or if we just want a quick point slam, we could use Amphibious Assault to tutor the Kadwini Knight. And Amphibious Assault will boost him to 9 power, and then his ability, because he's being summoned from the deck, will boost him by an additional 3, so he's a 12-point play. An even bigger option we have is the War Elephant, and its order will damage adjacent units by 4 and then boost itself by 4 for each unit. However, if this card is flanked by soldiers, its crew ability will activate, in which case instead of damaging units, it will only boost itself by 8. And so, by simply activating its ability, the War Elephant will play for 16 points. And with 3 cards in hand, we could use A8 to tutor the Kadwini to the melee row. And when we swap hands, use our leader ability to grab our elephant and add a second soldier to the melee row. And then in our turn, boost the elephant to give us 30 points, plus whatever our last card is. And our final point slam is Erland of Larvik. And when he's played, he'll boost all units in our deck by 1. And we do look to play him in the later rounds, in which case he also has immunity and cannot be targeted. And at any time he can then use his order ability to absorb all boosts in our deck and boost himself by the same amount. And we'll find this particularly useful if we're using Foltest to add additional units to our deck, who also boosts them, or if we have used Pavetta to return all of our thinning cards to our deck, in which case there are more units to boost. And so Erland will play for at least 20 points or so in this deck. So those are our big cards. And we'll look to play Foltest in round 1 and spawn copies of our Commander or Dunbanner for 8 turns or so. And we'll only do this after we've examined our opponent's hand and know they have no counters for it. And in the subsequent rounds we will try to return our Commanders to the deck for a subsequent point slam, or to use Erland, a Kadwini Knight, or War Elephant to try and point slam for wins in either round 2 or 3. And we will want to save our leader ability for use in round 2 or 3, as it will give us much more access to our good cards than our opponent has access to theirs. So we'll just finish with a quick flip through the rest of this deck. Okay, so the stratagem I'm using is Cursed Scroll, and this will function much like Amphibious Assault, as it will allow us to draw a card of our choice and put a card from our hand back at the bottom of our deck. And we could use it to fix our starting hand if we drew too many of our big cards, although we don't have many of them, so that is unlikely. But most likely we will use it during our second turn when we have access to our opponent's hand to shuffle something from their hand back in and play Foltest from our deck. I also include Prince Ansace, and he can be played in the melee row for Zeal, played in the ranged row for an additional boost, and his order ability will allow him to damage an enemy by 4, or if he's inspired, that is to say he's been boosted, he will duel an enemy instead. And I've included him as a response to any threat our opponents might have. For example, if they played Foltest on their side. And we also have several bronze soldiers in this deck which can supply boosts to Ansace, so even if we play him straight in the melee row for Zeal, we can automatically have him inspired by using those boosting cards on him. And King Belahan will boost any card with 4 power, with 4 or less power to 5 power, as we do have Devotion in this deck. And so if we have Belahan on the board, when we play Ansace, he will automatically come down as a 5 power unit with Zeal, if Ansace is played on the melee row. And we have Belahan hoping that our opponent isn't running Devotion, and so will not gain as much from Belahan as we will. As most cards are 3 or 4 power, if your opponent is not running Devotion, they won't gain a great deal from him, but I do use King Belahun mainly for fun, and he's by no means essential to this deck. Kud Kudak can purify adjacent units, and we might do this if Foltest gets himself locked. The Immortal Cavalry is another way we can set up our Soldier Pocket for our War Elephant. When deployed, it will spawn a base copy of itself on this row. So if we play the Cavalry to the left of our Elephant, the spawned copy will spawn to the Elephant's right. Smoke them out is another way to set up a Soldier Pocket. It will spawn 2 Soldier tokens, and if we control a boosted unit, it will also boost them by 1. And the Kedwini Sergeant is another way we can boost Ensace for more value. And we can just keep the charges at the ready and use them as soon as we bring Ensace from our deck. And this card could also provide the boost to the Dun banner to trigger his summon. Infantry is just another more soldiers, they can set a Soldier Pocket. Redwood's Royal Guards is another way we can boost our Ensace. More boosting, and at the same time, because his regular ability will boost an allied unit by 2, but if we have Devotion, he'll boost an allied by 4. So the Marine will play for 7 for us, but only 5 for our opponent if they're not running a Devotion deck. So that's our deck. And as always, the link to the deck list is below in the video description. Now, let's see how this deck plays.
Any last words?
I demand satisfaction! Now!
I am devoured only to be born anew.
Why should I help you?
For your blood, the desert does thirst.
Blood de Valhalla!
When the white frost comes, the world will at last be cleansed.
Semper Fi!
Here, Horatio!
Open this gate, kneel before your king, and I shall show you mercy. Nothing rivals skinning a unicorn. Their hair, so silky.
Death to the enemy! Aye, aye, sir.
The head. A fitting gift for our king.
Suffering? Our suffering binds us.
No audiences. Star today.
Finally.
I'll do what I can.
The court knows the judgment I expect.
Demons don't scare me. We're one and the same.
Nice mess you've got here.
Scrub this, scrub that, for fuck's sake, I'm sick of these chores.
Goddamn fools.
Where for horses is too hot, the camel cares not.
If the king demands a head, I'll give him yours.
Death alone us follows.
Aye, aye, sir.
Onward! Attack!
Finally.
You can try to win them all, but you won't.
Giants on the shore! Bows raised!
Aye, aye, sir.
If it's peace you desire, prepare for war.
Finally.
I'll do what I can.
Fighting me is like snogging a hedgehog's ass! Attention! Present arms!
The time of the white frost and white light is nigh.
The soil is fertile. Fertile with magic. And dead to one.
Death alone us follows.
Kedmil Vanadain.
Wind whistles Willow's whip.
Death to the enemy!
No audiences. King's Dower today.
Press those vermin! Nice mess you've got here.
Scurvy? Nah, fake elven news. Ship ahoy!
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am.
Alert! To arms!
You must stop! Please!
There's a great deal to be learned from the Ensifer.
We've to rise above, go beyond, become more.
For king and honor! Gia Horatio!
My folk have suffered much.
I'll do what I can.
The court knows the judgment I expect.
Asking me for help. Now that's smart.
What is truth if not an illusion?
I need not spill blood to make you suffer like never before.
Eyes closed, mouth open.
A witcher with no honor is no brother of mine. Semper Fi!
My men know the meaning of sacrifice.
Luan and Kazer!
Open this gate, kneel before your king, and I shall show you mercy.
You can try to win them all, but you won't.
Giants on the shore! Bows raised!
Used to be, I hunted game. Men bring more coin. Zerikania, source of the best goods.
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf I am. Not without good reason. They call him the Stern.
Nice mess you've got here.
Shildane and Morfodden Castellagloin! Eon ad Fien! Ian the Vat!
If the king demands a head, I'll give him yours.
For king and honor!
Nice mess you've got here.
My duty? To stick my nose where it doesn't belong.
You shall know the Emperor's fury!
Gia Horatio!
Great victories require great sacrifice.
Death alone as follows.
Vado duchessa!
Go! Onward, we ride!
Gotta hand it to you. Good work.
Take him to the woods and release the hounds.
Everyone has their secrets. Everyone.
Semper Fi! Death to the enemy!
No stench more foul than fresh, well charred.
Well, I guess that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching. As always, the link to the deck is in the video description. If you have questions about specific card choices, or possible changes and improvements to the deck, feel free to leave a comment below the video and I'll respond to it when I can. Until next time,